In today's class, we'll see Unit 5 of our ground improvement techniques, that is cementing and chemical modification. This has to be covered in 12 periods. So, we have already seen regarding ground modification, the necessity of ground modification, the factors affecting ground modification, and different methods of modification. In that, we have seen regarding mechanical methods, hydraulic methods. So we have checked in detail about mechanical methods, hydraulic methods and all. Now today let us see about cementing and chemical modification. That is, you are going to alter the properties of modification of ground. So how we are going to do, we'll just check that. Okay, so with this we'll just go deep into the topic, cementing and chemical modification. So the various topics that are covered in Unit 5 are modification by admixtures like cement, lime, fly ash, bitumen and calcium chloride, grouting technology, grout materials, grout characteristics, grouting techniques and applications. So in this topic, we'll see first what are the different types of admixtures that are added to the ground in order to change their properties. So here in this physical and chemical modification, what do we do is we will try to add some of the materials and then try to change the properties. Like in the initial stage, in the first chapter, we said how ground improvement technique is done by physical and mechanical. Chemical means, wherein in chemical means different types of materials are added, like your blast furnace slag, cement, lime, fly ash and all. So here also we'll go deep into that particular topic. So what are the different types of admixtures? First, what are different admixtures and all, and what is grouting technology and all, we'll see in this particular topic. So here, what is stabilization? Soil stabilization is the process of altering the properties of soil by changing the gradations through mixing with other soils or chemicals to improve strength and durability. So here, what is soil stabilization? You are having different types of methods in order to change the properties. That is, for example, if the soil particles are loose, what did we do? We have just applied some mechanical means. That is, you just use different types of rollers and all in order to remove the air voids from them, and then in order to increase the densification. In the hydraulic methods, what did we do? We have removed the water that is absorbed or else that is present in the soil conditions. Present in the soil, we try to remove that particular thing and then we try to arrange them. So here in this process, soil stabilization, it is a process of altering the properties of soil by changing the gradation through mixing with other oils or chemicals to improve strength and durability. There are many types of additives used for chemical stabilization. There are different types of additives that are added to the soil in order to change the properties. Yes, but the selection of additive is dependent on the type of the soil. So we need to keep in mind that the type of soil will be deciding the amount of additive and also the type of additive that is to be added to the soil. So now in this particular chapter we'll be seeing about all those things. So now what is soil stabilization techniques? Soil stabilization can be achieved by pulverizing the natural soil or burrow material, mixing in chemical additive and thoroughly compacting the mixture. The additive can be either Portland cement, lime, salt or any other material, any other admixtures. So here soil stabilization techniques, what are the things we are doing? We are just taking the particular soil, you are tilling the soil and making it loose, and then you are adding some of the materials like cement or else slag or anything, and then again mixing them properly and then combining it and then compacting it so that the soil properties are improved. So here let us see how the soil properties are improved. So basically we can divide these admixtures into two types: the chemical admixtures which react with the soil and then a new product is formed, and there is some admixtures which will be just put in the voids and all. So here let us see what are those admixtures. Chemical admixtures are the ingredients in concrete other than Portland cement, water and aggregate that are mixed to added to the mix immediately before or during mixing. So here what are chemical admixtures other than the main ingredients of the sand? You are altering the properties by adding some Portland cement or water or other aggregates. So here during mixing you are just adding all these admixtures and you are trying to change the properties. See, generally even in concrete, what are admixtures which are added to the concrete in order to change its properties? Such things you are going to call it them as admixtures. So here producers use admixtures primarily to reduce the cost of concrete construction, to modify the properties of hardened concrete, to ensure the quality of concrete during mixing, transporting, placing and curing, and to overcome certain emergencies during concrete operation. So here when we say generally the admixtures are added to concrete in order to change the properties of the concrete. But the same admixtures, what is that we are going to do? We are trying to add them to your soil. So here as in concrete they change the properties, in the same fashion they try to change the properties even in our soil. So now let us see how these admixtures will be changing the properties of the soil. Successful use of admixture depends on the use of appropriate methods of batching and concreting. See, generally in the normal conditions, when you take in concrete, we might have seen already in the last chapters how these particular admixtures are added. Now in this also we'll see how these admixtures will change the properties. Generally whenever admixtures are considered, what do? We consider the use of admixtures and also we check the amount of admixtures added by volume and batching. Now let us check volume, batching and other methods. Now let us see. Check. Most admixtures are supplied in ready to use liquid form and are added to the concrete at the plant or at the job site. So when you check these admixtures in the concrete, how you are adding? You are adding it in the form of liquid, or else they are added just as a ready to use liquid and then they are just given. Certain admixtures such as pigments, expansive agents and pumping aids are also used only in extremely small amounts and are usually batched by hand from pre-measured container. So here the concrete itself is an element which is hardened enough and which has got a very good strength. To those only we are adding these admixtures in order to change the properties depending upon the need. So now when you think about these admixtures in our soil content, how will they be changing? They will be changing the soil properties to a maximum extent. So now let us see how these properties of admixtures are used in our soil contents. So generally admixtures are classified based on function. There are 5 distinct classes of chemical admixtures: air entraining, water reducing, retarding, accelerating and plasticizers. All other varieties of admixtures fall into the special category whose functions include corrosion inhibition, shrinkage reduction, alkali silica reactivity reduction, workability, enhancement, bonding, damping and coloring. So these are all the different properties that can be altered in concrete or else even in our sand. So here we have divided these admixtures into air entraining, water reducing, retarding, accelerating, plasticizers, and also which control your corrosion, shrinkage, all these factors. Now let us see air entering admixtures which are used to purposely place microscopic air bubbles into the concrete are discussed more fully in air entrained concrete. So here mostly we don't use this air entering admixtures because we don't want the soil. Generally, what is the main thing in soil? Only when it is densified the soil will have maximum strength. So we don't find those use in our particular sand modification. If it is concrete, in order to have a lightweight concrete, in order to have honeycombing concrete, we can use this air entrained admixtures. But when it comes to the soil, we don't need those type of admixtures. So here we are discussing with respect to the concrete as well as with respect to your sand. So we have in general considered the different types of admixtures, how we are using it in concrete. Now when you consider the case of soil, the soil is mainly treated with cement, lime, sometimes with admixtures. Sometimes we are using grouting techniques. So here to give a broad classification, you are just adding these elements. You making use of different types of cements or different types of slags, sometimes fly ash, and then you are trying to increase the strength of the soil. And the next technique what is in this particular chapter is mainly grouting techniques. In grouting techniques we are just applying the mixture of cement, sand, as well as sometimes some admixtures and also a little amount of rock or gravel by pressure. So that is your grouting technique. But with cement, generally we know that when cement is added to any of the mud or anything, what will happen is it tries to form a solid mass. So now let us see how this one will be used. Stabilization using cement and other admixtures such as fly ash, blast furnace slag has been adopted in many geotechnical and highway engineering projects. So addition of cement as well as addition of admixtures, mainly your blast furnace slag, fly ash, it has been adopted in most of the projects regarding your geotechnical, highway engineering projects and all. These applications include shallow depth applications in the case of improvement of subgrade, subbase and base course of highways and embankment materials. And that is regarding your shallow depth application. And the next one is stabilization of deep soil deposits such as soft clay and peaty soils. So in all these cases we find the ground treatment with cement. So here now let us see how this actually is taking place in the site. So in general, when you are adding cement to concrete, when you are adding cement to the soil, we will be able to get good strength to the soil. So here we will just see addition of small quantities of cement proved to be beneficial, and the degree of strength or stiffness required is the basis for design and has been used in the stabilization of highways and embankments. So here whenever you think that cement is in the normal fashion, so generally what do? We when the soil condition is not too good, or when the cement when added to the soil it is becoming a hardened mass and the degree of strength is increasing or the stiffness is increasing, then we can use that for our design. So mainly in what places is it beneficial? It is mainly beneficial in the stabilization of highways and embankments. Generally this procedure of adding cement, mainly whenever there is sand, we just adopt this type of procedure. When the sand is very loose and the strength is very less, then we go for these particular processes. So now let us check how much amount of cement has to be added, in what way the strength is going to increase and all. Yes. So in large scale applications, depending on the strength and stiffness required based on the type of the soil, the quantities required are huge and need large scale machinery, and special procedures are required in stabilization of deep soils which are weak. Example mainly peaty soils. So generally the addition of cement for strength as well as stiffness, it is based on the soil, and once you have added this particular cement to the soil also, what happens is need of huge machinery or large scale machinery is important, and also special procedures are required in stabilization of deep soils. So mainly this particular cement stabilization process, it is helpful for peaty soils, increased strength and stiffness, better volume stability and increased durability. These are the main three benefits of adding cement to your soil type. So generally cement, as when compared to other methods, this is cheaper. We try to use this addition of cement, and also the strength gained is good, and we can expect good amount of strength, and we do have better confidence whenever you are adding your cement. So what are the main things that will increase or change your stability analysis? First thing is factors influencing the strength and stiffness improvement. The first thing is cement content, water cement ratio. So these are the main things, whether it is your soil condition or whether it is your concrete condition. Cement content and the ratio of water to cement ratio is a basic factor which improves the strength and stiffness of your soil. Method of compaction, time elapsed between mixing and compaction, length of curing, temperature and humidity, specimen size and boundary effects. All these are the main factors which will be controlling the strength and stiffness of your soil. So here he gives the type of compaction, time elapsed between mixing and compaction, length of curing and all. Now let us see how these things are going to change our factors. So in this slide particularly we'll deal with what will actually happen when you are adding cement or blast furnace slag to soil. What will actually happen? What is the reaction that takes place? First one is hydration of cement produces calcium hydroxide. So we know that sand or else clay or anything, it is made up of argillaceous materials, calcareous materials. So here when you are adding cement, after addition of cement, what is the next thing we need to do? We need to add water. So whenever you are adding water, calcium hydroxide will be formed. The calcium hydroxide generated is up to 25% of the weight of the cement. So how much amount of calcium hydroxide is made? Up to 25% to the weight of the cement. Adsorption of calcium hydroxide by the clay cation exchange reaction, all this takes place. If the clay is saturated with calcium hydroxide, a pozzolanic reaction between the components occurs. This is actually the particular thing that is happening. That is when you are adding cement, first one is hydration of cement, next one is adsorption of calcium hydroxide by the clay, next one is formation of a pozzolanic reaction. All these three things will be taking place, and these three things result in bondage of soil plus cement. So the design and construction of a soil treatment project is generally as follows. It is carried out in these steps. Site exploration discloses geotechnical conditions that do not meet design criteria such as density, consistency, strength or permeability. So the first thing is what we are doing, site exploration. Here in the site exploration, what is that we are doing? We are disclosing all the geotechnical conditions. What are the geotechnical conditions? First we will see what is the design criteria related to density, related to consistency, strength as well as permeability. We will first try to find out what are the properties of the soil. Then we will try alternative treatment methods are evaluated. First we don't just go with cement addition. We'll just think about what are the different possible methods that can be done for chemical stabilization. So in that alternative treatments, what do we think? We think about the amount of strength as well as the cost. So the economics as well as the stability analysis, both will be coming into consideration. Specialty contractors are selected. Later on, what is that we do? We try to bring about the contractors with respect to these particular procedures. Laboratory mix testing is conducted to provide guideline on in situ soil characteristics, tolerable admixture properties and optimum mix designs. So then what is that we have done? We have just taken first laboratory mix testing. We are doing it. Why? Because if you don't check laboratory testing method, what will happen when you do it in the site? It becomes a problem. So for that reason, generally what is that we are doing? We are just checking laboratory mix testing next. And then depending on that, if we think that those are good, we can go for admixture properties and the tolerable limits, and depending on this, optimum mix designs will be making in the site. Owner approves contractors' equipment, methods and mix design. The owner has to approve whatever the equipment the contractor is bringing, as well as the methods and also the mix designs. Soil at site is treated with close supervision, sampling and testing in the field to make sure that the project requirements are met. So what is the next thing we have done? Soil at site is treated with close supervision. Sampling is done and also testing is done in the field to make sure that project requirements are met. All these are important. And the procedure how we follow are given in that particular. One by one we need to follow them. So this soil stabilization, improving the engineering properties of soils used for pavements, base course, sub-base course and subgrades by the use of additives which are mixed to the soil to get the desired improvement. So mainly where is that you are making? You are making it in the course of pavements. These particular conditions of cement modification, it is carried on in mainly pavement design or anything. So here in the pavement base course, sub-base course, subgrades everywhere. And also what is that we are doing? We are using the additives which are mixed into the soil to affect the desired improvement. So that is the main thing. Soil stabilization is important with respect to the engineering properties, mainly whenever you are taking road design or highway engineering projects. Over there, in order to change the base course or sub-base properties or subgrade properties, it is necessary. So for that reason, we generally take up all these things. So chemical stabilizers, also known as soil binders or soil palletives, provide temporary soil stabilization. Vinyl, asphalt, or rubber are sprayed onto the surface of exposed soils to hold the soil in place and minimize erosion from runoff and wind. These materials are easily applied to the surface of the soil, can stabilize areas where vegetation cannot be established, and provide immediate protection. So here these chemical stabilizers, whether it is normal things or these generally they are used for temporary soil stabilization. Vinyl, asphalt, or rubber are sprayed onto the surface of exposed soils to hold the soil in place and minimize the erosion also. So these materials are easily applied to the surface of the soil to stabilize areas where vegetation can be established. So here now let us see what is the next thing we have. So use chemical stabilizers alone in areas where other methods of stabilization are not effective because of environmental constraints, or use them in combination with vegetative or perimeter practices to enhance erosion and sediment control. So here what is that we are doing? Chemical stabilizers alone in the areas where other methods of stabilization are not effective. In those places it's not possible. So here a combination of vegetative or perimeter practices also have to be done in order to control erosion as well as sediment control. Yes. So now let us see what is the next things we have. So chemical stabilizers, if properly applied, can create impervious surfaces where water cannot infiltrate and could increase stormwater runoff. In addition, chemical stabilization is usually more expensive than vegetative practices. So generally, chemical stabilizers, when do? Whenever you want to create an impervious surface in those places, we can do it. As well as chemical stabilization is more expensive than vegetative practices. So here he gives, so depending on that we need to check what type of infiltrate, what type of things are necessary, whether it is stabilization with respect to water or with respect to other things. So in general, the effectiveness of polymer stabilization method ranges from 70 to 90%. The effectiveness of a polymer depends on soil type, application method, and also polymer's individual chemical characteristics. So here in generally, whenever you are using polymer stabilization methods, it ranges from 70 to 90%, and it also depends on soil type, application method, and also chemical characteristics of the soil. Chemical stabilization is utilized to increase the strength of bearing capacity of the soil and serve as a moisture barrier in preventing water from penetrating into the pavement structure. That is the first point. That is, what is it doing? Chemical stabilization, it is acting as a barrier. It is not allowing the water to penetrate. Next, though any area of an embankment could be chemically stabilized, subgrade is generally the only area a stabilization chemical is used. See, we said in the subgrade, in the base course, sub-base, everywhere we are using it. But generally, whenever you take a pavement structure, highway engineering, where do? We apply it only in the subgrade. That too, how much? Top 8 inches below the pavement structure, it is applied. Currently, the department uses either lime or cement for stabilizing your soil. So generally, what is the things? We say lime or cement, but most of the cases lime is being used because of cost issues. Lime is generally used when the soil contains a high clay concentration, and cement typically reacts well with sand or silty soils. So generally when the clay concentration is more, then we go for lime, and we go for cement whenever there is sand and silty soils. So in both the cases, whether it is clay concentration or sandy or silty soils, we use mostly these stabilization methods. Generally, whenever we take it, immediately after the cement has been spread, mix with loosened soil for the full depth of treatment until a homogeneous and uniform mixture is produced. Generally, what is that we are doing? We are just applying first the cement, we are the cement, and then we are trying to make a uniform mixture with the cement and soil. Continue mixing the material until 100% of the mixture passes half-inch sieve and a minimum of 80% passes sieve number 4, that is 4.75 mm sieve, exclusive of any aggregate. So here continue the mixing process until you are reaching 100% of the mixture is passing half-inch. See, and also a minimum of 80% passes sieve number 4, that is necessary. Then add additional water that is necessary to bring the moisture content to not more than 2 percentage points above or below the optimum moisture content. Then how much amount of water are you going to add? We are going to add approximately 2% above or below the point mixture. Means with respect to the optimum mixture point, that is 27 to 30%, what do? We try to add either 25 or else to 31% amount of water. If the moisture content exceeds the specified range, the contractor may, if approved by the engineer, reduce the moisture content to within the specified range by remixing or blading. So what is the next thing he is giving? If the moisture is increasing beyond the range, then what is that we need to do? Again we need to reduce the moisture content either by remixing or any other thing. Avoid excessive concentrations of water as well as wet spots or streaks on or near the surface. What is the next thing? Excessive concentrations of water should be avoided. Yes, after all mixing, water has been applied. Continue mixing until the uniform mixture is obtained at the required moisture content. What is the next thing? After mixing, water has been applied. Continue mixing until uniform mixture is obtained. Perform the operations of cement spreading, water application and mixing, so the result in uniform soil, cement and water mixture for the full depth and the width of the area being treated. So here what he gives: spreading, water application, mixing, and again arranging it and compacting it, all has to be done continuously so that whatever that particular thing is there, full depth as well as width of the area is properly treated. Remix any soil and cement mixture that has not been compacted and finished within 30 minutes. So everything, cementing, addition of cement, addition of water, and again mixing them, and then again making it into a uniform soil mass, everything should be completed within 30 minutes. So or else what will be happening? Your cement try to react with free water molecules and it becomes hardened. So generally that is a procedure that is being applied or approved. So here immediately begin the compaction operation after the mixing operation is completed. Verify the moisture content of the mixture is within the desired range. First what did we do? We added cement, we added water, we have made it into a homogeneous mixture and then added. Later on what is that we have done? Check the mixture content. After the moisture content is checked, then what is that you need to do? You need to apply again the compaction operation before the mixing operation is completed. Next, compact the mixture to at least 90% of that obtained by a moisture density test using ASTO T134 as modified by the department. So as initial compaction is nearing completion, shape the surface of the treated area to the required lines, grades and cross section. So what is the next thing? Complete the mixture. So at least 90% of that is obtained by a moisture density test. After that you need to complete your compaction. Maintain the moisture content of the surface material at not less than optimum during finishing operations. If necessary, lightly scarify the surface to remove any tire imprints or smooth surfaces left by the equipment. What is the next we are doing? Maintain the moisture content. And then what is the necessary? Remove whatever the surface imprints are there that can be removed. Continue compaction until a uniform and adequate density is obtained. Until a uniform density is obtained, you can continue the compaction process. Perform a compaction and finishing in such a manner as to produce a dense surface free of compaction planes, cracks, ridges or loose material. So what is the next thing? Perform the compaction and finishing in such a manner so that dense free compaction of compaction planes is got. When rain causes excessive moisture, reconstruct the entire cinch. If at all anything after you have done the compaction, if at all water is obtained or water is seen, then what is the next thing we need to do? Again, if at all the rain comes, again the total procedure has to be reconstructed again. Compacted thickness of the completed stabilized soil layer will be determined by measurements made in test holes located at random intervals not to exceed 500 feet. So how much should be that? Compacted thickness should be checked. Avoid deviating from the measured stabilized thickness to that shown on the plans by more than plus 1 inch or minus half inch. So whenever you are doing deviations, it should be plus 1 inch or minus half inch. If an area is deficient in thickness by more than half inch, remove and replace the section having the minimum thickness. So if at all, if the area is deficient in thickness, then we need to replace the thickness. Removing and replacing should be done. However, if the deficiency is not considered sufficient to seriously impair the required strength of the treated soil layer, the layer may be left in place with prior reduction as determined by the engineer. So if at all, if you think that the strength required is not being brought because of the treatment, then again you need to do for strength increasing or else for price decreasing. Whatever it is there, you need to follow your site engineer. At the end of each day's construction from a straight transverse construction joint by cutting back into the completed work to form a true vertical face. So the next thing is what? At the end of the day's construction, you need to complete, whether it is a construction joint is there, if you want you need to construct it, or else if it can be laid at one go, we can put them. So build soil cement for large wide areas in a series of parallel lanes of convenient length and width meeting the approval of the engineer. Next, form straight longitudinal joint at the edge of each day's construction by cutting back into completed work to form a true vertical face free of loose or shattered material. Next, construct joints to provide a vertical joint having adequately mixed properly compacted material immediately adjacent to the joint. If necessary, cutting back into the previously constructed area during mixing operations may form a longitudinal joint adjacent to partially hardened soil cement built the preceding day. So always, whenever we are doing, same as we do it in our construction work with mortar, whenever you are laying your cement roads, generally what do? After laying a stretch of road, we try to put an expansion joint and then continue with the next thing. So in the same manner, we need to do it. Construct joints, provide a vertical joint, adequately mixed properly compacted material immediately adjacent to the joint. If necessary, cutting back to the previously constructed area during mixing operations may form a longitudinal joint. Both the things can be possible. So the last slide, after the cement treated base has been finished as specified, cure it in accordance with section 543 of the standard specifications and any applicable project special provisions. A completed section may be opened when necessary to lightweight local traffic, provided it has hardened sufficiently to prevent marring or distorting of the surface, and provided curing is not impaired. Do not use construction equipment on the treated soil except as necessary to discharge material into a spreader or as may be otherwise permitted for embankment construction. Maintain the soil cement in an acceptable condition until final acceptance of the project. Perform repairs to soil cement by replacing the full depth of the treated soil layer rather than adding a thin layer of cement stabilizing material to the existing layer. So here all the things whatever is there now we need to consider and then do it perfectly. So to conclude, what is that we are doing in cement stabilization process? I had given totally what are the different types of stabilizations with respect to chemical stabilization. What did we do? We had different types of stabilizers. The stabilizers can be cement, it can be lime, it can be fly ash, it can be slag and so on. At the same time, what is that we have done after all these are added? If you think that some additives are necessary, we have added different types of additives also. So depending upon the soil condition, the type of strength we need, we have tried to add all these. So what is the next thing we have done? Once that particular thing is being added, whether it is an additive or cement or any type of admixture or an additive is added to the soil, we have seen that it is totally made it into a homogeneous mixture. After making it into a homogeneous mixture, you are compacting the particular soil in order to get the required strength. So here in chemical stabilization method, mainly with the cement, what did we do? We have calculated the amount of cement that has to be added to the soil. Then we have tested it in laboratory. After checking it in laboratory, depending upon the amount of cement to be added, we have taken it to the site, we have added that particular cement. After that, what did we do? We have just tried to mix it properly. After mixing it properly, what is that we have done? We have added water. How much water we have added? It can be plus or minus 2 with respect to your optimum water content. Once that one is being applied, then what did we do in the next case? We just tried to stabilize it with the help of compacting equipment. Once the compacting equipment is also used, and after that when we thought that it is good, when we are satisfied with respect to our strength requirements, stiffness requirements, then we have seen that it is good. And in case while you are compacting, if you had seen any of the potholes or else any of the markings, then what did we do? We tried to fill that potholes or if at all any markings are there, we try to scratch those and then see that there are no markings, and then we try to stabilize the soil. That is the actual process that is happening with respect to cement stabilization process. And the next thing is, when you are doing all these processes, by chance if at all the rain comes, the optimum water content is being changed, then what did we do? We tried to add more of the stabilizer, more of the sand, or else to remove the water content, whichever is possible. We try to do all that work. So with this, we'll try to end today's class. So whenever you are considering addition of cement, we need to keep in mind how much amount of heat will be liberated and how much amount of water will be needed, and to what extent or to what the stiffness or the strength will be increased. When we are doing all this, the type of equipment used and the stability criteria both have to be considered and used. So all these we need to keep in mind when we are doing this particular thing. And if at all chemical stabilization processes is being carried out some days together, then it is better if at all expansion joints are considered. If the expansion joints are not there, then what happens? The soil, that particular soil condition may not be effective.